Hello, my name's Paul Merchant and I'm the Global Head of Makeup for Krylan. Today I want to talk to you about powders. Now we get a lot of questions about which of our powders are suitable for which foundation. There are so many options it can get a little bit confusing. So we want to break it down for you and bring you all the unique qualities of each powder so you can determine which is the best for you and your makeups. So first of all, let's categorize them. In the Krylan range we have loose powders, pressed powders and touch-up powders. Now they've all got their own unique qualities and reasons why you would choose them for certain types of makeups. So let's start with loose powders. Inside that category is translucent powder. Now translucent powder is one of them staples in every makeup artist kit. It's so important to have a high performance loose powder. Now what makes it so good is its ingredients. It's been developed with a high concentration of modified rice starch. Now modified rice starch has excellent absorbing qualities. So when you team that with a full coverage foundation like Vitacolor or TV Paint Stick or Supracolor, it basically absorbs the oils within the foundations and locks it into the surface. So it's creating a really durable layer on the surface of the face, and while at the same time mattifying, which is really important, especially for a lot of performance work. Translucent powder is something that is so popular in theatres the world over, and also by artists like drag or dancers or anyone that's working in the intense conditions of something like stage lighting, where there's a lot of heat, a lot of movement, and the body temperature itself is going to rise. Translucent powder would then be your option to set your full coverage foundations in scenarios like that. Having said that, translucent powder is also perfect for everyday makeups. For those people that like to wear medium or full coverage foundations, or you live or work in a hot climate or high humidity, it's the perfect choice for mattifying and setting your foundations. Now, one of the key things that you have to look out for when using a high performance powder like translucent powder is that it's compatible with the foundation that you're using it with. A lot of sheerer foundations contain less amounts of oils. So when you're using it with something as strong as translucent powder, sometimes it can actually dehydrate the foundation a little bit. So that's when sometimes you might see the foundation becomes really dry or it looks a bit cakey. It's normally because you've used too much of the translucent powder, or the translucent powder itself is kind of too strong in its function to use with such a lightweight foundation. So there's some of the reasons that you could use translucent powder and find you might have some problems with it. So check the amount you're putting on, and also check the kind of consistency of the product that you're layering it over. Now, the powder comes in translucent, and it also comes in a variety of tinted options. Now, there's multiple different reasons why someone might want to use a tinted translucent powder. Sometimes people like to use them for brightening or slightly darkening a shade of makeup, and it can also give you a little bit more coverage on the surface of the foundation when it's tinted. Also, it's really popular when using techniques like baking to use powders that will slightly brighten and darken certain areas of the face to achieve an accentuated highlight and contour, for example. Now, tips when it comes to using translucent powder. I prefer to always apply these more high performance translucents with a powder puff, because I feel like you've got more control over the product when you're using a puff. You need to really give it a little bit of pressure when you're rolling it onto the surface of the skin, because they're typically used with our full coverage foundations. So if you only use a brush to just dust over a small amount, it's not going to be enough to kind of press into the actual surface of the foundation and effectively set it. So you may find, if it's not fixed properly, that an hour or 2 hours into wearing that makeup, it could start to move a little bit, or you could start to get shine coming through from the oils. So I prefer a powder puff, quite a bit of pressure, rolling it over the surface of the foundation. And then once I've actually got the powder on the surface, I'd leave it, time permitting, for a couple of minutes. Just let it really absorb down into the foundation and really lock in those oils. After that, I'll take a really soft powder brush and buff all of the excess powder off the top of the surface. And then I like to take a buffing brush and polish the top of the foundation. And this basically brings back that kind of natural luminosity to the skin. It doesn't necessarily make it shiny, because the whole point of using a translucent powder is to mattify, but it gives you that luminosity, that more kind of skin-like texture again. So Remove the excess with the powder brush and then buff it and polish to a nice finish. Next up is the Dermacolour Fixing Powder. Now this is an advanced level of makeup setting. It was specifically designed to work with the Dermacolour Camouflage creams, and when them two products are used together, it renders the makeup water resistant. It's incredibly durable, which is why it's perfect for underwater shoots or anybody that's living or working in hot or high humidity. It's the perfect product to extend durability of foundations and keep it water resistant. Having said that, it still effectively works with all of our full coverage foundations, but the level of water resistancy might not be as equal as when it actually works with the Dermacolour Camouflage cream. Now, there's a very specific way that it needs to be used in order to achieve that high performance level. So when you're using it in conjunction with the Dermacolour Camouflage cream, you want to make sure that you're using a powder puff and you roll the powder into the foundation, making sure you're giving a little bit of pressure to the skin so you're really encouraging that powder into the foundation. Now then leave the excess on the skin at this stage and let it sit there for about 15 minutes. Once it's been on for 15 minutes, remove it with a soft powder brush and then buff it to bring back that nice beautiful texture of the surface of the skin. Now it's that 15-minute window that gives the powder enough time to connect with the waxes and oils in Dermacolour and seal the top layer. If you was to remove it before 15 minutes, it's never going to give you that high performance level of water resistancy. So that's one of the real key things about how the products work together. Now let's talk about the pressed powders. And first up, one of my personal favourites, which is the Dual Finish. Now, Dual Finish is such a versatile product, and that's why I love it so much. You can use it for so many different things. First up, fundamentally, it's a foundation on its own. So you can achieve a sheer to a medium coverage with Dual Finish. And it's really nice to use Dual Finish on people that have got quite oily skin or don't like to wear fluid or cream foundations. It's really nice for male grooming as well. Just a dust of the product gives you enough opacity to even out the surface of the skin, but also keep it matte and perfect for professional use or for everyday wear as well. So fundamentally, it's a foundation. And then secondly, what you can use it for is brightening, highlighting, contouring on top of fluid and cream foundations, which is one of the things I probably use it for the most. It's such a beautiful product because the pigments themselves are actually micronized. So you can layer and layer the product onto the skin and you never get that kind of cakiness that you get from some powders. It always looks really, really smooth and kind of almost has like a cream finish to it. It's a real beautiful product. You can use it wet and you can use it dry. So you could actually scrape out a little bit of the powder from the compact or the palette and then add a little bit of water to your brush, blend it over the pigments, and then you can apply it directly onto the skin, and that increases the opacity of it. So the product will go onto the skin, and as it dries, it gives you a higher coverage. Or you can use it completely dry, just directly from the palette with your brush, and then apply it to the skin that way as well. So it's a multifunctional product, as I said, and for me, it's one of them staples in my kit. You can buy it in individual compacts, or it also comes in the 6 colour palettes. And I have all of them. It's the warm complexion, cold complexion, the silhouette, the contouring and modelling. And that variety of colour that comes within them individual palettes, I can basically do everything with it for all types of skin. So it's one of the reasons why it's my real favourite product. Next up in the pressed powder category is Ultra Cream Powder. Now, Ultra Cream Powder is a beautiful setting powder. It's again a product that I use a lot. It gives you a really silky, like luminous glow to the finish. It basically does what it says in its title. It's a powder that has a cream finish. And the reason it gives you that luminosity is because it contains mica pigments. Now, mica is a naturally high shining mineral. So mixed into the formula, it just gives the skin that kind of healthy glow. Now you can use it as a setting powder. So it can go over the top of fluid or cream foundations, and it's strong enough to set anything from sheer to medium coverage. Or you can use it as a foundation on its own. And again, you can have a sheer application of it, or you can build it up to a medium coverage foundation. So again, a multifunctional product, one that can set other foundations, or you can use it as a foundation on its own. Now, it has some really interesting qualities to it as well. So it actually has ingredients that make it repel water. So it's incredibly durable and can really make a beautiful finish on the top of other foundations. Next up is the Dermalite Translucent Compact Event. Now, this is a great product to keep in your handbag, or if you're a working makeup artist, in your on-set bag. It's a perfect touch-up product. So it adds a little bit of luminosity to the skin and gives it a really beautiful glow. It stops it from becoming too matte or too chalky if you're regularly touching up, which is a really important thing to work with professionally and also for everyday makeups. So it contains, again, mica, and mica gives it that beautiful kind of luminous translucency. It gives the impression that the skin is more youthful, more healthy, and it looks more natural because you haven't got a completely matte finish. It gives you luminosity, basically. It can be used on its own, so you can just use it if you just want a sheer or medium kind of dusting of product on the skin rather than actually wearing it on top of liquid or fluid foundations, or it can effectively set and help to mattify sheer and medium fluid and cream foundations as well. So it's a great touch-up product. It's always in my on-set bag. Just I don't want to keep layering powder sometimes on people that kind of need a little bit more softness to the appearance of their skin. So it's a perfect touch-up product for that, something that gives them a little bit more luminosity. Then in the same family, there's the Dermalite Translucent Compact Day. Now, the only difference with this product is it gives the matte finish. So it doesn't have mica in it like the Event powder does. It just gives you a matte finish to the surface of the makeup, but it's one of them products, again, that you can layer several times without it becoming too cakey or too chalky on the skin. So you've got the same product, same function, but different effects. So one of them will give you that luminous glow, and the other one will make sure that the skin is mattified. Then we have our touch-up products. Now, the first of them is blot powder. Now, blot powder is not to set or fix foundation. That's the first fundamental thing about the product. It's designed literally, as we said, as a touch-up product. So this is used after the foundation has already been set with another powder of choice. So it's inevitable that after a certain amount of time, the skin will get a little bit of shine or some natural oils coming through in some environments. So the blot powder has been designed to actually remove the shine and remattify the skin, but without adding any texture or any color. And that's the really nice thing about the product. You can layer it several times and have no effect other than mattify the skin. So touch-up product is not for setting, just for mattifying or taking away unwanted shine over long periods of time. So for that reason, it's great for makeup artists if you're working on editorials, photo shoots, or TV or film, because you know that you're not going to affect the base or the look of the person that's on camera. You're only going to take down the shine. But it's also equally as good for people that just want a powder in their handbag on the go, that you just want to make sure you keep your skin mattified without actually affecting or disrupting your base. Then we have our anti-shine powder. Now, anti-shine powder fundamentally is a touch-up product. It's there to be used for full and medium coverage foundations to remove the shine from the surface. Now, as we said before, it's inevitable that makeup will eventually, in some circumstances, get a little bit of shine to the surface of the skin where the natural oils are coming through, or if it is incredibly hot, then we are obviously going to start to see oils or shine on the skin. So the anti-shine powder is more of a high performance product when compared to the blot powder. So if you're in more extreme circumstances or need more mattifying more often, then the anti-shine powder is probably something that I would recommend above the blot powder. The blot powder mainly is for onset in controlled environments when you just want to add a little bit of powder to remove a little bit of shine. Now, with the anti-shine powder, one of the nice qualities about it is that it has kind of special ingredients that stops the base of the makeup getting chalky or too dry. So it's got kind of like an anti-dullness to it. As you apply it, it still leaves the skin looking healthy. It doesn't kind of get that crepey or cakey texture to the surface of foundations, which is really important, both professionally and for personal users as well. It's completely translucent, so it can be used on all different types of skin tones, and it's a fantastic product to add to your kit. So now we know a little bit more about the powders in the range, let's talk about what's important to consider when you're selecting a powder. And I kind of think of it in 3 stages. First of all, compatibility. Is this powder going to work with the foundation I've chosen? The second one is finish. How do I want it to look? Do I want it to be matte? Do I want it to have some kind of special iridescence, or do I want it to be natural? So there are options as well that we have to consider when selecting the right powder. And the other one is necessity. Do I need to powder? When and where is it important or essential to be powdering? So that's another thing to consider as well. So let's start with compatibility. So for me, when you're approaching which selection of powder you're going to use, think about your foundations. If you're using a medium or full coverage foundation that has a high concentration of oil, you're going to need a powder that is loose, that contains a lot of talc or a lot of modified rice starch, that has that level of absorbing quality. If you don't, then you're never going to effectively set the product properly. So if you had a full coverage foundation and you're only using a pressed powder to set it, the chances are you're only going to set the top layer. You're never going to pack the powder down enough into the foundation to achieve a high level of durability. So that's why for me, with the full coverage and the high medium coverage foundations like Ultra, Vitacolor, Supracolor, Dermacolor, TV Paint Stick, they generally need a loose powder if you want to increase their durability. So that's the way I kind of look at it. The higher concentration of oil is when you need to go to your looser powders because they have more absorbing qualities. Then we have our compatibility when it comes to sheer coverage foundations. So this is the opposite end of the spectrum. If you imagine with the sheer coverage foundations, like the HD Micro Foundation Cream, for example, they don't contain as much oils or waxes as the full coverage foundations. So if you're using a high performance loose powder on top of them, the chances are you're going to dehydrate the foundation and then it's going to look dry and chalky. So that's why it's better with the sheerer foundations to use either micronized powders or to use pressed powders, because you're adding less product to the skin but still achieving a nice durable finish that still looks soft and natural, or however it is you want it to be in the end. Then we talk about the finish. So how do we want the foundation or the skin to look after the application of powder? Most translucent powders give a matte finish, but then we've got other options that have softer finishes to them. So first up, we have the micronized products like the Dual Finish and the Ultra Cream powder. These two have a much softer finish than the translucent powder or the Dermacolor fixing powder. So if you want more of a cream or more of a luminous finish, then you've got them two. Then you've got one step further, which actually gives some kind of iridescence to the skin, and that would be your Dermalite Translucent Compact Event. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about finish. Think about how you want the skin to look after you've set the makeup. Then the final thing to consider is necessity. Do I need to powder? And there's many different angles to look at this from. So firstly, powder will increase the durability and the length that you can wear the makeup for. So if you do plan to wear or apply makeup that you want to last for an entire day, then yes, it's probably better that you powder so you increase that durability. But then we have makeup occasions where it's only meant to be worn for a short amount of time, especially in the professional environment. It could be a photo shoot, for example, and you might want to be able to change or control the foundation a little bit more. So if you set it, it limits the options of what you can do to it. Also, some foundations photograph beautifully, so you'd only need to use a little bit of powder to remove shine in certain areas rather than mattify the entire face. So think about, do I need to powder, and is it an essential step? There are also obviously self-setting foundations. In our range, from our HD range, we have HD mattifying and HD smoothing. They're not necessary to have powders on top of them. One of them already is designed to be matte, and one of them is designed to give a more natural dew finish. So there wouldn't be the required necessity to powder on top of them. So it's all about deciding when and where it's appropriate for you. And that's when it comes to selecting your powders. Always ask, what do I need it to do? Do I need it to last a long time? Do I need it to look matte? Do I need it to have a shine? What environment are they going to be in? All of these things are key in deciding which powder is going to be best for you. So I hope you found this video useful and that it clarified for you which powders you can use in what situations. I look forward to bringing you more information on more of these tutorials very soon. Thanks very much.